Welcome back to the channel everyone, and in today's video I want to talk to you about something that's kept my mind busy over the past couple of months. And that is the problem that comes with visiting epic locations. It's not the problem on location itself, but it's the problems that come afterwards. And this is a subject that's almost never talked about when it comes to photography channels. At least I have never seen anything about it. But there is definitely a problem, at least I experienced that problem. And I want to share to you how I got in that problem, how I got away from that problem, and how you can prevent coming into these situations. So let's dive into this video and I'll tell you all about it. So before we start the video, I want to mention that my book Out of the Darkness is now available to pre-order in my webshop. So if you want to read my story, so this book is completely filled with images and all these images come with stories, and through all these stories is my personal story, my journey through photography. How did I get here? All the ups and downs from hitting rock bottom to getting back on my feet. It's all in this book, completely covered with QR codes. So all the images that have a QR code will link to the video, and you can watch the video where I captured that image on location. It's 136 pages written in English, so you can order it anywhere in the world. It's now available in the web shop, and there's even a pre-order package. So if you order the pre-order package, you can get the book with the calendar with a €10 discount. So please visit the web shop. There's a link underneath here. This book is actually what kept me busy over the past couple of months. But I needed that therapy to write something, or how do I explain this? It's not really therapy, but I needed something to keep me busy, to keep me motivated. And this drop in motivation, I talked about it before, is often referred to as the photography rut. A lot of photographers have experienced it, and over the past months I asked myself, how did I get to this point that I lost motivation for a while? I just couldn't motivate myself to get out. And then I thought about similar situations, because I've experienced this much more in the past. But the problem, if I look at myself, always occurs after I've visited epic locations. So for example, when I go out with my family on holidays or on photography trips, I don't do much specific photography trips, but I did a couple of short ones. But these trips to these fantastic locations, like this year in Tuscany, I had epic conditions. Also in the south of France, I did 2 this year actually. And last year I did Tuscany, I did France, I did another France at the end of the year. I went to Sweden last year. So there are a lot of trips involved. And what I noticed is when I get back from these trips, I always hit a low point in my photography. And I started to analyze this over the past few weeks from what happened. And I think what actually happens and what the problem is with visiting these locations, they are absolutely fantastic. Don't get me wrong, you know, the best thing in the world is to stand in Tuscany and to watch over a valley filled with fog, with all these islands coming out of it, or driving to Gorge du Verdon with some foggy conditions, some epic light. You know, these are the conditions that we don't have in the Netherlands. And that I really like, and that's why I go abroad to photograph these things. But the problem comes when you get back home. Because when you visited an epic location like that, all of a sudden everything around you becomes boring. And I don't know if you've experienced that, but I definitely experienced that. And I went to Tuscany at the start of May, April, May. And when I got back, we got in a massive heat wave here in the Netherlands. So weeks and weeks and weeks of no rain, no atmospheric conditions, just heat, absolute heat. And I just figured at that moment, well, I've got enough material from my holiday, from my epic trip. I don't need to go out anymore to photograph anything. You know, I can stay in, I have enough material to fill the next month, And that's where the problem started for me, because that didn't last a week, that didn't last 2 weeks, but eventually I didn't touch my camera for over 6 weeks before I recorded another video. And I just hit the absolute low point that I had no material anymore at the start of July, and I even had to skip a week of uploads. And all of this was caused by this feeling that epic locations create. And that's what I want to warn you about. Like, it is fantastic, you have to go there. But what I challenge you to do is don't visit those hotspot locations only. Even if you're abroad, try to keep your creative spark alive. It's so easy to go to Tuscany and drive to Agriturismo Bartoleo and just stand there next to 100 other photographers, take the exact same image. You get back home, you get, oh, this is a nice image, but there's no creativity that helped you to catch that image. It's just you drove to the spot, put on your camera, took the shot, and that's it. And somehow for me, when I do that, and it even happens to me here in the Netherlands, because of course we have a lot of hotspots here in the Netherlands where a lot of other landscape photographers go. For example, we have this windmill that's very popular, and I even get some questions sometimes, so why did you never visit that windmill? Well, it's very simple. I don't like these hotspot locations where there's only one shot to take, just one simple shot, and I don't like that. I want to keep that creativity flowing because I need that creativity. I rely on it to find new images on other trips. And eventually, when I picked up my camera again at the start of July, I really hit a low point in creativity. I walked around, I didn't see anything. And that is caused because I just had all these memories freshly in my mind from these epic trips in Tuscany and in France with beautiful mountains, beautiful fog. And then I'm walking around here and I'm thinking, that's boring. That is boring. And that's where the solution to the problem is. You know, I tried to do what I always did. I tried to walk around hunting for great conditions, but these conditions didn't come. And that's when I realized, okay, I need, and that's maybe my advantage, I have this YouTube channel and I need this constant new material to fill the channel with exciting new videos. I can't show you 5 boring mornings after each other because no one will watch these videos anymore. And that's when I thought I have to make a change. And I don't know if you noticed it, but I started to do a little bit more wildlife stuff. Sometimes it comes across me purely by accident. I went out on trips on the most boring days of the year when it comes to light, no atmospheric conditions, but still I got away with a couple of nice images. And those images are actually the sparks that you need to keep your creativity flowing. You know, you don't need an epic image every trip. It's just absolutely impossible. But you need to get out there to keep your creativity flowing. And eventually, when conditions are right, or even on trips when conditions aren't so right, you know, when I ran into those deer that were mating, you know, pure luck, pure by accident. But by going out there, by exposing yourself to the hardest conditions, you start creating some sort of spark in your mind that's like, okay, what can I do today? What can I do with these conditions? How can I make the best of this morning? And that is the feeling that you have to chase, that you have to go after. You know, don't make it too easy on yourself. Of course, these trips are absolutely magical, but for me, there is this dangerous point where I'm thinking, okay, I've got some epic material now. I can sit on this chair and do nothing for a while. But you know, I can't do that. And but I think you've all experienced that. You know, if I can't find the motivation to make these videos, maybe you won't find the motivation to go out there either. And that's why I wanted to make this video, because I want to warn you about that and just just force yourself to go out there and do something different, you know. Go out there with a different eye, look for smaller things, smaller landscape, use a telephoto instead of a wide angle. But whatever you do, try to do something different that forces you to keep your creative mind flowing. And trust me, that this is the honest truth. If you find an image on a boring day, like I experienced a couple of weeks ago, that is nice. It's not even an epic image, but it's these images that keep with me much longer than those epic views from Tuscany that everyone shot. You know, and that's the strange thing. Maybe my mind works strange in that way, but I don't go to those hotspot locations because that doesn't give me that feeling, that motivation that I found something unique, that I found something. And that's why I go to these boring locations. That's why I even drive around Tuscany, staying away from the hotspots, you know, trying to find my own shots, just to get a feeling that I found something unique. And these images that come unexpectedly, like those two deer that were mating, you know, those are the memories that will stick with me much longer than that shot from those epic locations or those hotspot locations. And there's also a part in my book about it, like how I experienced these hotspot locations, because I visited a couple of ones in the past, but never with satisfying results. And that's when I realized I want to do something different. And that's why I'm making this video, just a little talks video, sharing my thoughts. And I hope that you can find the motivation, just like I did, to get back out in the field and just try to find something that gives you that spark, something that gives you that feeling when you come back home and say, hey, I found a nice image here. Well, it's only a flower, not the epic landscape, but it is a nice shot. And eventually, when you keep that feeling flowing of finding shots, not the best shots, but just shots that you're thinking, this was worth getting out for. And if you have these things and your mind gets more open, and eventually you start to see things again in your boring surroundings, just close to home here in the Netherlands. For example, next week I have another video of a location that I visited maybe 20 times in the past, one of my favorite locations. And I just walked in there on a morning and I said to myself, okay, I want to find an image that is different than what I've shot here before, you know. And eventually I walked out of it with the feeling that it wasn't the most epic shots that I took, but I found something different. And that is what motivates me. That is what keeps me busy. What I like to do. I like to find some new stuff, some unique stuff. And maybe that's different for you. So let me know in the comments, what is your thought process about this? Do you only visit those epic locations, those hotspots? Is that enough motivation for you when you take a shot that's that you can see online everywhere? You know, when I went to Tuscany, in the weeks after, I saw a lot of shots that looked kind of similar to the ones that I had. And for me, that reduces the pleasure that I find in my own images. And I'm just wondering, is that the same with you? Do you have that same feeling, or do you need, is that enough for you? Do you just want a portfolio with only those hotspots? I'm just wondering, I'm just curious. And I just want to share how I work, how my thought process works. And this has everything to do with this YouTube channel. You know, if I didn't have an audience, maybe I'll do the same. But I think it will get a little bit boring eventually when I just visit these locations. You know, I think it's much more interesting for you to watch how I struggle, for example, in finding something. And then eventually when I do find something, it feels much more worthy than the shots that I took in Tuscany. And that is a really strange feeling that kept me busy. So what I did over the past months, I worked on my book as a project that I wanted to keep my photography busy, but I didn't feel the motivation to go out. And eventually when I did go out, I started to find some nice images again, totally unexpected. Like this Sunday's video where I'm going to Denmark again. This is the last video from Denmark. I had a totally unexpected morning in Denmark where I just stayed in bed and I thought, well, nothing's gonna happen tomorrow. So when I woke up, walked into the kitchen and I couldn't see anything because it was so foggy. And I looked at my wife and she said, well, you had 1 hour. And I went out totally blind of what I could do, but still I got away with a couple of nice images, I guess. So watch this Sunday's video and see how I approached that day. But that's the way I try to work. I try to prevent visiting these epic locations mostly, just to keep my interest in everything and not be focused on that one shot that everyone has, but to find those things that are unique to myself. Yeah, I hope this video makes sense. It's just a little share of thoughts with a couple of images and video material over it. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and I'm just really curious. Let me know what's your thought process of this. How often do you visit those locations, and what you think of it? So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, the book is on pre-sale right now in the web store of my site. There is a link underneath the video here. If you push it, you get directly to my web shop. And yeah, if you liked it, don't forget, please push the thumbs up button. And there is a subscribe button underneath this video. If you push that, you will get a notification when I release my next video. And that is this Sunday from Denmark, the last video from Denmark. And then we're going back to the Netherlands. So thanks for watching. I hope to see you next time, and happy shooting. Bye bye.